So the tweet that you came across, I just said exciting announcement, and then it was a picture of a bridge builder, and that's just to signify that we have started building the bridge. So all you ERC20 people, you can calm down, take a breath. It's being built. We've already started that process, just like we planned. As soon as V3 was done, which is this sprint coming up, ending next week, we will be starting. So we architected it prior to, and then we have started the code to manage it. It would be very simple. The major thing was making sure that we had the dev resources to put towards it. That's what we've said the whole time, is that we can't take people away from the main product to build that, because if we do, then there is no main product and all your tokens go to crap anyway. So as long as you understand that, cool. But that it'll be a very simple UI. We're working with drip drops for the claim on the Cardano side.
What is going on, ADA Nation? Welcome to day number 2 of the Rare Evo event taking place here in Denver, Colorado at the Gaylord Rockies. As you guys can see, I'm joined here by Damon, who's going to be the head founder of Charli3. Yeah. And we're going to be touching on everything they're doing here and bringing to Cardano. Damon, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty solid. I took a little bit of an extra rest today, and this is my first thing that I'm doing today. So I'm
happy to have you here while you're still fresh, because yes. I know how everybody feels after 5 o'clock.
Yeah, just talking all day, all the time. It's exhausting.
It definitely is, and I enjoyed that though yesterday. You know, the networking, the people, the experience. But enough about that. Enough about me.
Sure.
Let's talk about Charli3. So for the first time, you know, you're here on this channel. The Cardano community, you know, has heard of you, but I haven't actually had you on the channel.
True.
Do you mind touching on what C3 is, right,
Sure.
and what core services you provide for the community?
Absolutely. So Charli3 is what you would call a blockchain oracle. Most people would know what Chainlink is. They're the biggest one. And basically what we're able to do is kind of like an intermediary data translator, right? So all these blockchains are kind of in their own bubble, in their own languages, right? And they talk to each other, everything in the bubble really well, but not outside of that. So what an oracle will be able to do is take data from the outside, bring it in, translate it, and allow people to use it. And this is for things like pricing data or weather or gaming results, what have you. What we currently do is crypto pricing data, because that's what the lending and borrowing protocols on Cardano want. People like Liquid or Indigo or whatever, stablecoins, same thing. And so we'll be able to bring that in through a fully decentralized network. So it's a trusted point of data, which is weird because trustless is the word, which is just silly, you know, but it means that it's trusted and it's secure data points, so you know you're always trading on the right values.
Thank you for that brief introduction, and I appreciate what you just mentioned there, you know, with respect to bringing real-world information onto the network. Now, can you maybe just briefly, before we move into the next topic, touch about, you know, how can we verify that this information is accurate, and then how are you able to, through the use of C3, make sure that it's actually brought on-chain in a timely manner?
For sure. So it's accurate because of this decentralized data network that I just mentioned, right? So we have a bunch of nodes that we have no control over. It's external software, right? And they are incentivized through payment in the C3 token that's used for our economy, for paying for the Oracle services. They're incentivized to go and grab this data that other people want or have requested and aggregate it and decide what the correct value is, which is a median value. So out of the 5 nodes that are currently running on the C3 network, it will take the median one. So even if there's a couple that go down, you still have that point that is still set, right? So, and if there are bad actors or anything like that, they get removed by the other nodes. So again, fully decentralized, we're not touching that. And verifying this data, obviously you can do this on your own later and look at all of the sources that we pull from, which is all fully open source. You can see where all of the data is coming from. So just for instance, our longest running feed so far, which is ADA USD, is coming from 15 different sources over the 5 nodes and being checked like 70 different times. And there's a pre-check and a post-check of aggregation before it's ever posted. And that can be seen, if you're good enough to read it, I guess, the Cardano scan results on that. So you can look up exactly where everything's come from, every point of aggregation for the nodes, and to show that the one in the middle is the one that was chosen for use on chain.
The more you speak, the more questions I have. So
Yeah,
I hope
it
that you don't
happens
mind
all
me
the
just
time.
kind of spitballing here and
Yeah.
just throwing them at you, but you mentioned 5 nodes right now.
Yep.
My question to you is, who is running those nodes? Will the community at a certain point get the ability to run those nodes?
Good question. Yeah. So who's running those nodes right now that's proprietary information currently. We do plan to bring that hopefully soon, those identities out normally, because people want to know where that's coming from. They want to know that we're actually telling the truth, that it's not us running the nodes.
That's right.
We do hold the capability if there's a bad actor or 2 bad actors and there needs to be an emergency node integrated so services don't go down, we can do that, but for a short period of time before we implement somebody new kind of thing. But yeah, those identities are currently secret because of the small network currently. We don't want those people to be targeted off the bat and kill the network off before we ever get things running and have everything, but we think our security is good enough now. We'll be finishing our version 3 of the Oracle update this next Wednesday, so that should be good enough to then start rehashing those agreements to then push out the identities of these operators. As far as the community wanting to operate, there will be a couple probably community operators, but it won't be just anyone. We'll have a full KYC process to understand who they are and whatnot. So, but it's a question of us looking good and other customers knowing where this data is coming from and trusting people. So we're currently internally talking, do we want to be able to allow just regular community people that we KYC, or should it all be large data providers that people trust because they now don't have an incentive to try and screw up a node operation to then make a bunch of money on a trade because these companies are already multi-million corporations, right? So it doesn't make sense to them. They just want our business, So that's where we're squabbling back and forth internally currently. It's how much can we afford to give to the community and how much should be larger corporations for trust?
And I think each side of that equation has its own pluses and minuses, right? Like you said, corporations, they don't have the incentive to provide bad data because they have reputation on the line. But if you let the community run multiple nodes, then I think it plays into the decentralization aspect because anybody can then potentially contribute to the network.
Yeah, and I agree with that too. And I would like to be able to have community people, especially in Cardano. That's really valued to have the community involved with anything that's going on. But we also have to look at historically certain projects on Cardano running DAOs or nodes like that where some totally fail because the people that get involved are just crap and they're just out to get what they want, or things like the Indigo DAO, which are very successful and actually vote typically in the best interest of the project. So it's in between. I think it's just an early side, but that's why I think we want to, off the beginning, have a mix, maybe of the first 5 here that we have. If we renege them a little bit, because right now they're test operators. Nobody's really getting paid for the services. They're just helping us manage it. But once the identities come out and people are being paid, we would like to have maybe 3 of the major ones, of the 5, 3 major corporations and 2 community operators of trusted stake pool operators that the community and customers can go, oh yeah, we know that person. We trust them to be providing this data. All good.
Really, really interesting points that you raised there. Now, I want to ask one more question before we move things along into the next topic, and that is going to be surrounding, you said, the ADA and USD feed that is currently live. So you mentioned earlier that there's about 15 different data providers. How do you get those data providers to sign on, or how did those 15 come to be?
Sure. So I'll talk to this camera. The ADA USD price for those 15 data sources, I'll say, or providers, those are all centralized exchanges. So the data is typically free to give out because it's crypto data. You can grab those APIs from most of the exchanges. Same thing with DEXs on Cardano. They'll all have an API to talk about all the prices. And that's how we gain things currently right now. So it does keep costs down. But the problem when you go out to say, if we expand operations for synthetics into real life commodities or forex or whatever. Now you're having to grab that data from other places, and if you are then using that data for resale, right? If you're just using it for yourself, you can connect to their API and whatever for a hobby project. But if you're then selling that, you have to sign a data reselling license and get that, which then increases the price of the Oracle for that feed, because we now have to pay for a license, and then you have to pay a premium on top of that. So it's kind of a bummer. Right now we're not there. We're able to keep costs quite low. The ADA USD feed is currently fully free. It's been running since last October. So, and all the documentation to hook up to it is there. So if anybody just wants to mess around, it's there. Yeah.
That is huge. I didn't realize that it was free. So for any developers in the community, if you're building something that relies on that particular value, right, you can use the Oracle or the C3 Oracle in order to get that data at no cost to you.
For the ADA USD price, yeah.
Okay.
Anything else won't be free right away. But there's different ways that the pricing model goes, right? It's really on parameters. We have different parameters of how often the data is updated. There's a deviation check for if the price of an asset moves within 1 to 2, whatever you want to set it at, 1 to 2%, it will trigger another automatic update that's outside of the heartbeat update. How many nodes you want running, how many data sources you want being pulled from. So all of these factor into the price that we'll negotiate with the customer. So our current standard is about 5 ADA per update whenever those updates happen. And the standard is usually a 2% deviation with 5 nodes with a minimum of 3 data sources and a 1 hour heartbeat. And that's about, at the current price of ADA anyway, $1,500 a month for that. But if you change that heartbeat to like once every 10 hours, right, now you've just cut your costs down significantly. Gotcha. Because now you're only paying once instead of 10 times in that hour. Right. As long as you're comfortable with that 2% or 1%, whatever you set it at, deviation to trigger those updates, then you're good. So there's just a lot of redundancy built into the platform.
One thing that you just mentioned there is the customizability of the actual Oracle plan itself, right? Yeah. Which to me, that's news as well. I didn't realize. I thought you guys maybe just offered a single plan, with a single rate. But it sounds like depending on the project's need and the frequency of the updates, that will then determine the actual cost. Because again, there are costs with you actually having to get the data and then quote unquote reselling it to whoever else is using it here on the Cardano network.
Yeah, the major costs come from the network updates. Like when we're posting an aggregation, that's a network transaction, right? When we're managing to pull that data from the initial data sources, right, that's a network transaction. Bring it on and then to post it. So that's why there's that 5 ADA thing. And people might think it gets really expensive as ADA goes up because that network transaction is a set fee of ADA. It doesn't change, right? So our C3 payout changes. We have a C3 ADA Oracle that's running, which will also be free for anybody who wants to use it, because we have to run it internally anyway. So whatever. So the C3 payouts to the nodes and managing that will be variable based on the price. We'll set that as a set USD price. If C3 goes up, it's less C3. If C3 goes down, it's more C3 to pay. But the ADA price is the problem, in that the transactions on chain, like I said, that ADA doesn't change. So if that ADA is, say it's 1 ADA per transaction, it's not, by the way. If it's 1 ADA per transaction and ADA is at $1, cool. But if ADA is at $10, it's still 1 ADA per transaction. We can't change that. That's the network fee. So it might seem expensive, but hopefully people are also making more ADA at that time anyway, so that transfer should be manageable. But yeah, the feeds are mostly free. Currently, the ADA USD one is free. You could piggyback on any data feeds that go up. So the Shen USD feed that we run for Liquid is, if anybody wants to, you could go and take that. The difference is you won't have access to the Oracle owner contract. So they set the parameters for the feed, but if you want something faster or different or more nodes or whatever, you don't get to dictate that if you're just piggybacking off of theirs. And if they shut it down and you're using it, you're screwed. So it's usually better if you want to talk to us to set up your own feed with your own parameters and pay for that. However, take your own risks.
Yeah, and I'm learning so much, Damon. I want to say thank you first and foremost for your time
Absolutely,
here.
yeah.
For anybody watching this video, if you guys want to find out more about C3 or Charli, I'll go ahead and leave the links to all of their platforms and all of their forums down in the description below. Definitely make sure to go ahead and check them out. Now let's keep things moving here. I want to respect your time. You guys have recently integrated with LQ that you just mentioned.
Yep.
But you guys are also, I think, working and collaborating with Mehen, which is going to be bringing a fiat-backed stable coin on Cardano. Now, I saw a test transaction
Yep.
posted recently and a testnet integration.
Yep.
So do you mind maybe speaking out about that?
Yeah,
and
sure.
then after that, potentially talking about, who else you're potentially eyeing into onboarding or integrating with?
Yeah, absolutely. So, sorry, the liquid integration was a while ago. They run the ADA USD and Shen USD, and have recently asked to spin up 5 new data feeds. So they're our current only paying customer, I'll say. Other people are using the ADA USD feed just for themselves because it's free. And then for Mehen, the fiat-backed stablecoin it's backed, not like the other stablecoins we currently have, the algorithmic ones, but it's backed by physical reserves, and that's held in a bank. And to have customer trust, they want to make sure that nobody thinks that they're manipulating that value, because only they see their banking value, right? And now us, and then they post it on chain. So it's like, oh, just trust us, like USDT does, right? It's like, but where is that physical backing? Like, who knows? They just print willy-nilly. And so what we do is we have access to their banking API. It updates once per day. And we just facilitate that transfer and post on chain. So theirs is a lot more stable, where it is just a single value of the stores. It's not fluctuating in price. And so that's what we manage. Now, I did mention before of our standard of having at least 3 different data sources, but obviously with this proof of reserve oracle, which is what this is there is only one point to grab from. It's just this one bank so far that has data in it. Further along the line with Mehen, they will have more accounts in different places with more reserves, and we'll pull from all of those and aggregate it to have that average. It might just be slight differences, but at least now you have the right thing. No different than trying to figure out from different markets opening in Forex around the world at different times, what is the actual price of your dollar. So it will expand. But right now it's testnet, it's pre-prod, it's ready to be implemented within 1 day's worth of work, whenever they want. But regulatory compliance with stablecoins is the problem right now. USDA is also delayed.
Yeah. I spoke with the Mehen group yesterday, and that's exactly what they were saying, was they want to make sure that they're treading in the right time, right? A lot of people, especially like the people with USDA, I spoke with them as well. I believe it was the Emergo team.
It is the Emergo
They said
team,
that they're ready to basically launch it. The tech is ready, everything is ready, but it's the regulatory landscape. And it sounds like with respect to you and Mehen, your integration is ready to go. It's just, again, the regulation. So I'm excited to hear that you guys are, I think, doing something new with actually checking reserves at a bank, or is that something you guys have done before?
I mean, it's the same thing. The bank has an API. All of these different centralized exchanges have APIs. It's as long as we can connect to it, that's cool. So like I said, weather, gaming, real estate, whatever the heck you want that has an API that's out there, we can connect to. So it's the same process. It might not be that same data, but it's the exact same process.
Got it. Very exciting to hear. Just in thinking about all the use cases, right?
Lots.
And all the types of utility that an Oracle like C3 can actually be used for. So let's keep things moving along. I was scrolling through Twitter late last night, and I saw an interesting tweet, and it was teasing something coming in from C3.
Yeah.
Do you want to maybe talk about what that could potentially be?
For sure, I can do that. I don't know if you wanted to still hear about our potential collaborations still as well.
Yes, I'm so sorry.
No,
I got too excited. I got a little bit ahead of myself. Let's jump into that first.
Cool. So potential collaborations, the USDA team we've been talking to as well, but they have some other things that it's a bit different than just a simple proof of reserve, so we have to work with that later, hopefully. Basically any index that's coming up, so there's Matera and the Token Allies guys, which is like a VC type thing going on, and I think there's 2 other, Maze is another index fund, basically. We're all working with them as well. The Indigo guys we've been working with for a long time, but that one's very different because of their DAO voting, as well as they have a completely different datum format. So we've had to create a completely separate Oracle network just for them. Wow. So it's that's tough. That's why that's taking so long, basically. And most of the dexes we've talked to, so MuesliSwap is going to be putting it in. What's their new one? I can't remember. MuesliSwap's new one.
Oh,
Linkage
option,
Finance?
yeah,
No.
option flow or linkage finance?
Linkage Finance.
Okay.
So Linkage Finance also same thing, and the Vi Finance team is implementing at least the ADA USD feed on the back end for all of their vaults and their auto harvester and all this kind of stuff. So and front end wise. Putting that on the dexes makes a difference. Maybe it's not in their process, right? But if you see ADA is at blah price on their front end, right, and then you go and make your trade for thinking that ADA is that price, right, it can influence your trade.
Right.
So I've had to explain that to them. And, oh, I guess yeah. So, it's not just using our back end, but it can influence our customers. So they'll all implement that again because it's free. So that's where we are on that, and then maybe we'll have a cut. And then bridge. So the tweet that you came across, I just said exciting announcement, and then it was a picture of a bridge builder, and that's just to signify that we have started building the bridge. So all you ERC20 people, you can calm down, take a breath. It's being built. We've already started that process, just like we planned. As soon as V3 was done, which is this sprint coming up. Ending next week, we will be starting. So we architected it prior to, and then we have started the code to manage it. It would be very simple. The major thing was making sure that we had the dev resources to put towards it. That's what we've said the whole time, is that we can't take people away from the main product to build that, because if we do, then there is no main product and all your tokens go to crap anyway. So as long as you understand that, cool. But that it'll be a very simple UI. We're working with drip drops for the claim on the Cardano side. So basically what the UI will look like is you go in, you connect your wallet, ERC20 wallet, whatever you had before. We have a snapshot on chain from August 1st, 2022, when the hack, the Nomad hack happened. And from that point, you'll connect your wallet. If it's in the list of approved wallets from that chain snapshot, you're good. So if you have your ERC20 tokens on a different wallet, you got to send them back to the first one because it's a whitelist from a chain snapshot. Right. It'll come in, it'll prove you, go, okay, you're approved for this many tokens, exactly what you held before. You input your wallet address for Cardano. It sends a transaction where it sends those ERC20 tokens to, it's not a burn address, but it's a null address, basically. They weren't built with the burn capability on the ERC20 side, so it'll be a null address. And then you'll roll over to drip drops. In a bit, we'll have to give them the file, and then you can claim all your CNTs over there, C3 CNT.
Thank you for breaking that, Alpha. I've seen a lot of questions surrounding the bridge.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited to hear that that's going to
be. So many.
Especially on Twitter. But I'm excited to hear that there's some new news, surrounding that. Yeah. And that you guys are doing everything within your possible reach, to make people whole after an unfortunate situation.
It's never sat well with us, honestly. We've hated it the whole time, and that it's taken basically a year, like a little over a year now, to even get started on it is a real bummer to us, honestly. So the people that keep yelling at us about like that we don't care about them or we're just leaving them in the dust because we're not building this, like, no, we're trying to make sure that your tokens still have value, right? We're trying to make sure the company doesn't go bust. It's a huge thing for us. Like, this is for me and my fellow co-founder Robert. Like, we left our old lives behind to focus fully on this. This is full time. Like, we don't have other than this. This is it. So why would we jeopardize that? Right. So to say we don't care about people is unfortunate, but we are making it good. Now we'll have everything come over, the early investors as well. Most people have been pretty chill, but as you've seen, other people not so much. But hopefully that'll go away and that stain can be erased from our identity currently.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because it wasn't your own doing. You were just almost kind of
we were using a service that got cut. Right? That
exactly.
Was it. Yeah.
So you just got caught in the crossfire. But again, to hear that you guys are doing this, and even though it did take some time, it's being done. I think one thing I've learned from being in crypto is that people are extremely impatient, and I always try to reiterate to them, building on Web 2 already presents a ton of challenges. So imagine building on Web 3 with blockchain technology that is emerging technology that people are still trying to grasp their head around, you know? And having the same expectation that you have with Web 2, which again has its own issues. It's not realistic to think that things are going to move at breakneck speed
Never.
in Web3. So we have to, I think, give people like yourself who are building
Yeah.
and supporting the ecosystem the time that you need, right, to actually do that. So again, I'm super excited to hear that, and I think all the viewers watching this video will also feel the same way
Let's
with
hope so.
respect to that announcement.
Yeah.
All right, so I know that you have some networking to do. I'm going to close this off here with one last question.
Sweet.
I always like to ask my guests here, where do they see their protocol in the next 1 year, 2 years, or maybe even 5 years from now?
Sure, yeah. So 1 year from now, we just hope to have more adoption within the Cardano blockchain. We hope that more people appreciate and understand the need for a decentralized oracle within the other services being provided on Cardano, because right now it's iffy. And I do think that that's mainly because of bear market times. People don't want to have to pay, so they're grabbing free sources from a single source, and those are often going down. It costs people money. So we hope that there's just more adoption of oracles in general on Cardano. So that's our 1 year. Maybe 2 years, we start moving more into the RealFi sector, and this goes into the 5-year plan too. So the long-term vision for us is not managing crypto prices and the typical stuff that happens. Sure, we'll still do that as a base level, but it's really more about getting into that RealFi, real-world type of data. So that's why here I've been trying to connect with the Microsoft people and the FedEx people and the Blizzard people. So all of this external data, like say for things that aren't blockchain pushed right now, so shipping and manufacturing, right? We can do that and have that all on chain even now, but those companies aren't ready to trust the blockchain with that stuff, right? So that's what we want to get. Same thing with Microsoft stuff. Same thing with anything that's produce related, like farming and everything can be pushed on. Sales from different stores can have an automatic list of everything just from when you push that button, to buy, and that transaction goes through in a store, can be posted on chain. But we've found out that a lot of these these retailers actually fudge their numbers at the end of the day in order to get better deals from the manufacturing of the products that they buy for their stores. So that's what this is where we found out from the manufacturers, because they're coming to us, can we do this? I'm like, yeah, but the store has to sign on to it, right? So this was the one that we had was the main lumber manufacturer for Home Depot. Our producer, I guess, for Home Depot wanted to get the real numbers from Home Depot, what they're actually selling, because they give them discounts based on how much they sell. And then they found out that Home Depot was fudging the numbers so they could get better discounts. So they were throwing out lumber to say that they sold it because it was still cheaper to get the discount than to sell that lumber. Right? But they couldn't prove it like in numbers.
Not until Charli3 came into the picture.
But then I said, well, Home Depot then has to agree to actually have those numbers put on and have that system implemented into their systems like ours. And then, but they're not incentivized to do that because they're getting a good deal right now. So that's kind of where we envision it long term, is major processes in the world that happen to verify that on chain. A lot of big things for insurance claims happen that way, and even just customer satisfaction. Like if you had all of your FedEx shipping locations constantly pushed on chain, so if you had a dispute, you could check that. But otherwise you can't, right? So that's where we're at.
You don't know where that package is. You just have to trust that it is where they say it is. But what you just mentioned there with Home Depot, that is really eye-opening.
Yeah, and that's just one instance. Who else is doing the same thing?
Who else has some dirty laundry that we might want to air out on the network? Anywho, thank you, Damon, so much for your time. This has been a wonderful time again. Finally getting to get access to you and bringing you and all your wealth of information to my community here on DApp Central.
Always happy to, man.
No, thank you. I look forward to having you on, especially as you guys hit the Mehen integration mainnet, and as you guys expand into other industries, right, which you've mentioned. So I wish you all the best of luck with your upcoming chats and conversations with the Microsoft team, the Blizzard team, and et cetera, that are here at Rare Evo. And for you, the viewer here at home, if you guys found this particular video to be insightful or helpful, make sure to go ahead and tap that like button. If you guys have any questions for myself or Damon, make sure to go ahead and leave a comment down below. And as always, I will catch you guys in the next video. Thank you again, Damon.
Thanks very much.